is in the news and some of the political developments in the last 24 hours. We're going to be touching on those. So please share the link. Politics 101 is live, and we are welcoming you, whether you're in Guyana, as I am, on the east coast of Demerara, Georgetown, Demerara, wherever you are in the Demerara County, wherever you are in Bobis, in Quarantine, on the Essequibo, Northwest, wherever you are in the hinterland, good night, and welcome to Politics 101, whether you're outside of Guyana in the Magic Caribbean, or you're in North America, or Europe, or you're in South America. I'm talking here about whether you're in French Guyana, Suriname, whether you're in Brazil or Venezuela. Welcome down to Politics 101, where, as usual, we start off the evening doing our thing. And of course, when you leave here, you go over to Brother Sherrod Duncan, and then we close off the evening with Mark Benchop. So buckle up, because we are in the zone where we engage in discussion, education, and mobilization. We're going to open the phone a little bit early because we are going to close off at 7:30 tonight. I have to rush to do another television program on Channel 9. So we're going to open the phones in half an hour's time so that you can get a chance to come in. I know we haven't opened the phone in a bit. I'll ask the operator to put up the number quite early so that we can get some of your views in. Welcome down to Politics 101. I understand that teachers who have not been vaccinated, that they have withheld their salaries. That's one development over the last 24 hours. I suppose they will have to get with the unions and work that out. Welcome on down. I see GT Root Girl. Maybe I'm as one of my friends in Boston would say, Dr. Hines, you eat okra today because your mouth slipping. Is GT Root Gal, not Root Girl. GT Root Gal. Welcome on down to Politics 101. Denise Booker is, of course, taking up her seat very early. Audrey Brown, welcome down to Politics 101. We're coming down to Christmas. It is a season of good tidings, the season of blessings and love. Yes, Donna, I know you're always with us from French Guyana. When I was a little boy in the village, people going to French Guyana, they say, you got Cayenne, and as you got older and you're learning geography, you realize that Cayenne is the capital of French Guyana. Welcome down. Hosea Morgan, welcome, my brother, and I want to thank you very much for your support. Thank you so much for your support. I see Egerton Vibert White, always here from Grove, the man from Grove on the east bank of Demerara. Good evening to you. Danny John, Sharon Griffith. Welcome down to Politics 101. I was saying, look, we're into the Christmas season, and of course we are good Christians, but more than that, Christmas is more than just a celebration for Christians. It's people of all faith who celebrate Christmas. It has become more of a cultural intervention than a religious thing. Good evening to you. Good evening to Audrey. Jomo from the UK. Jomo from the UK. Lucy Wilberg, who is a regular. Yonette, Cheryl Wharton. Welcome everybody. Welcome down everybody to Politics 101. It's getting close to Christmas and everybody's, warming up to the season, and it's a time for, a break from the general routine, and time to get together with family. And some of you will be traveling home to Guyana, as I am, and spending time with relatives and friends. Some of you will be traveling to other parts of the country that you are to get together with relatives and friends. It's a time and a season of reflection, and then we get into the new year. 2021 has been quite a year, quite a political year. We have seen the true colors of the government. Some of them who helped to install the government are now recognizing the mistake that they've made in putting the government in power, because what we have seen is 1 year of unevenness in terms of the distribution of common resources, 1 year of oppression. I think we're not out of place to use that term. 1 year of oppression, 1 year of bad governance, 1 year of authoritarian rule. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I'll try to keep as safe as I can. Yonette also, keep safe, Dr. Hines. I'll try as much as I can. As I indicated a couple of weeks ago, nobody will run me from where we come from, and they're not going to keep me from coming here. I spend about 4 or 5 months per year in Guyana. Sometimes they describe me as an overseas-based Guyanese. I spend my time here, and I've been doing that for 20 odd years. 20 odd years I've been doing that here. Because Guyana is where I belong. Guyana is where I belong. Guyana is my country. And people speculate on a whole bunch of things. I've only held one passport in my entire life, and that's a Guyanese passport. My point is this: we live in a global world, and if Guyanese choose to live in other parts of the world where they can make a living for themselves and raise their family, they're entitled to do so. But that does not make them non-Guyanese. And we live in a world of technology that you can live in New York, you can live in Europe, wherever you are, and keep up with what's happening in Guyana, sometimes more than people who live here physically. And this thing about separating us, those who live outside from those who live inside, is a way of dividing us. I've always said to Guyanese, if it's to your advantage to become a citizen of the United States or England, as the case may be, then do it. I'm a political person, and I took that decision 30 odd years ago when I first came to this country, that I was not going to change my citizenship because I know I am politically involved. And it didn't take a constitution to tell me that I can't have 2 citizenships. And so I've always held on to my Guyanese citizenship, but I've encouraged people, friends, fellow countrymen and women, that if you live in America, wherever, and it's to your advantage to become a citizen, to enjoy the benefits of your labor, because that's where you labor. That's where you pay your taxes. That's where you're raising your children. Let nobody make you feel guilty because you decide that you are going to live somewhere else, but you are Guyanese. Citizenship is not determined by your physical location. There is a larger citizenship, and that is the citizenship of belonging. You belong to Guyana, and so let nobody make you feel that you do not belong to Guyana. So thank you all. I thank all those of you who live in the diaspora. I thank you all for staying with those in Guyana who are not fortunate or who've chosen not to leave. But it says the late Sir Johnson, aka Finance, had always cited the Kiskadee never had to show a passport to move across the globe. That's a good one. The Kiskadee don't have to show across a passport to move across the globe. Yeah, oh gosh, that one tickled me. The wisdom, the wisdom that come from old timers. They didn't have cell phone. They didn't have. Sometimes some of them didn't have. Most of them didn't have the benefit of university education. But by God, the wisdom that they had, and in a sense, they've passed that on to us. And we who call ourselves scholars, what we do is that we take that wisdom, we call it research, and we refine it and we write books on it. It's the people's wisdom that we are taking. And Brother Yussi Kwayana said we need to take that wisdom, refine it, and then give it back to the people as political nourishment and cultural nourishment. So let nobody divide us. Let nobody divide us between those who are inside and those who are outside. And those of us who are outside have a responsibility to our country too. At the end of the day, our navel string buried. And I said navel string because when we read the books later on, we found out that navel, but we know about navel string buried. The old days, they would bury the navel string under the tree in the yard if you're born home, and so your navel string buried. Desiree, watching live, Desiree Chapman. We have a famous poet, Chapman from England, and I read somewhere this week she got an award. Grace Chapman, an extremely powerful poet and artistic figure in England. There's if it's your cousin, big up. And Desiree Chapman, I read somewhere, and you read so many things during the week, and I can't remember exactly what's the award that she got. But Grace Chapman is one of the Guyanese artists that really has done well in England, in the United Kingdom. From Los Angeles, California. Good evening to everyone in Guyana and New York. Berthill Nelson, LA. I lived in California for 3 years. I taught at one of the universities there, Claremont Graduate University up there. Berthill in Pomona area, Claremont area. I taught for 3 years there before I moved to Arizona. And I have to tell you, I mean, there was 3 years of the most rollicking time in my life. I mean, California is a world by itself. New York, we always say, is a country and a world by itself, and California is too. I mean, I tell you, those 3 years in California. When I moved to Arizona, every weekend I would drive back to LA to hang out. I stopped doing it because the problem, I think it was 6 hours to drive up there, 5 or 6 hours from Phoenix. The problem wasn't the driving to go because you're anxious to get there. It's Sunday night, but it's to come back at Phoenix. And after about a year or so, I gave it up. But I have very fond memories of Los Angeles and the surrounding area. And I have lots of friends who are still out there, living up there in Rancho. Lots of Guyanese up there in Rancho Cucamonga. Up there, my very good friends from Buxton, June Griffith, the former well-known Guyanese athlete, and her husband, Mr. Collison, Dennis Collison, and Deborah's, June's sister Deborah, and so on. Lots of good friends up there in California, live in the Rancho area. And so it's good to see LA in the house. Yes. Look, we have some brothers and sisters who join us, and they are Indian Guyanese. I notice Anil Sugrim is on. We know that some of them come on, they're troublemakers. But I found out that there are a lot of Indian Guyanese who are not troublemakers, but who come on to our show and who are part of the Politics 101 family. And sometimes we don't know because they're anonymous. They don't announce themselves. The ones who come on and make trouble and try to cause problems are the ones who are most vocal. But I want to say good night to all our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters who are on the program, and to welcome you, because this is not a zone of anti-Indianism. Never. It is not a zone of anti-Indianism. Yes, we defend African Guyanese when they're under attack, but if Indian Guyanese are under attack, we'll do the same. That is our responsibility as Guyanese. And they try to make us out as anti-Indian and all that nonsense. It is not. As we do on this program, we preach love. Love yourself. Love yourself. I don't want our Indian brothers and sisters to play black. Be Indian. And the more genuinely Indian you are, the more you force us to respect you because you respect your origin. And what we share as ethnic groups is that we share a physical space called Guyana. We share a civic space called Guyana. And we try to link our cultures together to become one powerful nationality. We are a work in progress. There are those who would like to disrupt that work of Guyanese nationalism, but we have to keep working at it. We have to keep working at it. The topic, of course, tonight is to resist tyranny. To resist tyranny. Throughout the history of mankind, there've always been those who would like to dominate others, whether they want to dominate us by class, by ethnicity, by race, by gender. They're all those who always want to dominate. And our problem with the PPP government is their desire to dominate racially and ethnically. And we want our East Indian brothers and sisters who support the PPP to say to them, look, you can support the PPP, but you don't have to support the PPP's domination of others. We live together in Guyana. We have to work together in Guyana. At the end of the day, we have to find the Guyana, a place where we can live together in peace. If one ethnicity has all the money and the other ethnicities don't have any money, we are not going to have a stable Guyana. What are you saying to those who are going to go into their paycheck and discover they get a miserly $4,900? And this morning they open the paper, the newspapers, and they see their brothers and sisters very happy receiving $250,000. Talk to me. What kind of society are we building if that's what we're saying? You open the papers this morning and you see your brothers and sisters getting $250,000, and you go to the bank and open your account and see you get an extra $4,900. Well, less than that, because after they tax it, it's much less than that. We cannot build a peaceful society under those circumstances. What do you expect me to do? Karen Black, good night. Good night, Karen. Thanks for coming down. Grace Nichols. I was saying Grace Chapman. Grace Nichols. Thank you, Joan. And I recognize that name, Joan McDonald. Grace Nichols, very my good. Lynette Zephyr, my countrywoman, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. She and her twin sister, Rocky Laverne, live wire of our village. Welcome down. Grace Chapman is a Lindoner, but yeah, and Grace Chapman is also an artist. I'm confusing the two. Grace Chapman also is an artist from Linden. Marielle, hi Marielle, how are you doing? I've seen you in a long time. And Grace Nichols is also an artist. All right, and you get old, you get these things mixed up. Yes, Grace Chapman from Linden, and Grace Nichols also. You see, when you have an audience that is on top of things, in my line of work, we call it your researchers. You get your researchers, and they do the thing for you. You see, when professors write books and so on, people think we do it all on our own. No, we have sometimes students who help us to do the research and to get the thing right. Grace Nichols and Grace Chapman, our Politics 101 researchers setting it. Well, Desiree Manuel, welcome, Beverly. What do you expect me? What do you expect me to say to African Guyanese who say, well, Dr. Hines, is that fair? You expect me to just say, well, it's not fair and leave it at that? No. You expect me to articulate the advantage taken and to try to give solace to those people on whom the advantage is being taken. That is our role as public people, as public scholars, public activists, is to articulate in a public way what others are not able to articulate because they don't have a microphone in front of them to speak to the critical mass. So today cannot be a good day in Guyana, where teachers are opening their bank account and to find that their salaries have been blocked because they have not done their vaccination. And I'm saying that I'm a pro-vaccine person. I'm a pro-vaccine person. And I would love if everybody were to vaccine, but I am not going to get into the business of forcing people to do things against their will. But teachers, some teachers who are not vaccinated, they're therefore going to open and find they have no money. But here are our brothers and sisters getting $250,000, and nobody's asking them if they're vaccinated. Nobody's asking them anything they know, hindrances. And you see, it is the kind of inequality in the society that we have to deal with. Inequality we have to deal with. Standards have to be across the board. That person who's getting $250,000 can invest that in a small business. That's a reasonable amount of money to invest in a small business. And that in 2 years and 3 years, that small business will become a medium-sized business. Why not give, Even if you don't want to give 250, why not give $200,000 to public servants or $100,000, $150,000 to public servants? And so this is not a salary increase. This is a cash grant to you. Public servants have not been knocked off. Public servants are employed, but they're underemployed because their salaries and wages are not a living salary and a living wage. So they're employed, but they're getting underemployed money. I know the economists will say that we have to be very careful when we put a lot of money into the economic system. It can cause inflation and so on. I understand that. But you have to sit down in a holistic way and say we want to give some cash grants. And we live in a society that is divided. We have these sugar workers who are knocked off. And we promise to give them something on our manifesto. We promise to give open back the estate. We find that the estate cannot be opened. In fact, we knew that the estates could not have been opened. So in order to keep them quiet, we want to give them a small piece. But God, if we give them a small piece, those people over there, the Amerindians and the black people, they're going to ask us where we small piece there. So here's what we're going to do, brother. We're going to put aside a set of money for cash grants, and then we're going to make sure we share it across the board so that everybody gets a satisfactory amount. That's what a decent government, a caring government, a government of all the people would do. Today is not a good day for Guyana. It is not a good day for Guyana. There are going to be some African Guyanese who will get $250,000 because they were sugar workers. But the majority of those workers are of one ethnic group. There are going to be some African Guyanese some Indian Guyanese public servants who are going to get the $4,000 tax. I wonder if they tax the $250,000. I doubt that. But they're going to tax the $4,900. And some of our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters who are public servants are going to get that. So we know that there are people of all ethnicity who are going to be affected one way or the other. But we're talking about the critical mass, the majority. The majority. If you go to a place like the village that I'm in right now, Buxton, more families are depending on public servant workers, public service workers' salary than are depending on people who get $250,000. I think if you look around Buxton, if you got 10 people who get that $250,000, plenty. But a lot more people will get the $4,000. And if you go to, let's say, Enmore, the number of people who get in the 2,000, 250,000 will be quite a lot compared with Buxton. And the people who are getting the little public service pittance would be a few compared with Buxton. So when we take those two communities, what we have is an infusion of much more money in one community than in the other community. So if you think about development and underdevelopment in community terms, by the actions of the government, you're in fact underdeveloping one community while developing potentially the other community. Now, we didn't ask for Guyana to be partitioned along ethnic lines in terms of where we live. That's what we have. And any government has to take that into consideration. So tonight and tomorrow and for Christmas, there is more money circulating in Enmore or Enterprise than there is in Buxton and Golden Grove. By the action of the government. And that cannot, it cannot be right. Any Indian Guyanese brother and sister then tell me that that is right, something is wrong with them. But that is what we are facing this Christmas. In blunt terms, that is what we are facing. Dr. Hines, it's not tax. I have the privilege of seeing a check. Vibert is saying it's not tax. The $250 is not tax. Good night, Jamal. Watching from Bobby's. Good night. Thanks, brother. Jamal Aziz. So Vibert is saying the $250,000 is not tax. The $4,900 is not tax. It's tax. I'm saying this is not about preaching race. If I were Indian Guyanese, I would say to myself that if my brethren and sisterin over there can earn as much as we are earning, can make as much money as we are making, then we are more likely to see eye to eye. You go in Georgetown and you see rich Indians and rich black people and rich Chinese people and rich Portuguese people hanging out together as brothers, mostly, sometimes sisters. And the reason they're hanging out together because they're all rich. They may not like each other race, but as individuals, they're getting together because they're all rich. The theory then is that if you were to up the income and the economic profile of all the races to one of equitableness and equalness, equality, it will not end racism. It will not end the prejudice, but it will decrease the chances of ethnic hostility. There's a reason why rich people get along well. There's a reason. There's a reason. Because they own money. Their wealth is about the same. Good night, Carol from the UK. Good night. And that's all we are saying. You could have said before now that you didn't have money. Now the money is coming and you are taking it and dividing it unequally. I understand the flood relief money that they haven't given us a bill yet. I understand the people who assessing. Brother Kidaki was dealing with that this morning, the assessors. End up getting more money than the people who the relief money should go to. And the assessors are all PPP and PYO people. That is percent. Good night. Good evening, my brothers and sisters. Stay focused, stay focused. We're in a bad situation. Yes, Gladys, you're right. They are pitting us against each other. By giving one group more and giving one group so much less, you are creating the conditions for hostility. Ayub Ajmul, I want you to learn tonight. You're in school. You can't teach the teacher. You're in school. And when you're in school, Mr. Tajmul, you pay attention to the teacher. You don't come and spit nonsense. All right? You're accepted in the walls of school. And be quiet. Be quiet. You are one of those people who they send to make trouble here. I'm not tolerating that. Right? So we are saying that our objective as we move into the new year is to ensure that we bring about some equality in this country, some equitable distribution in this country. That's all we're asking for. And there comes a time when we have to stop asking and we have to demand. We have to demand. Governments, all governments tend to be hardies. Good night, my brother Jaiwan Bunduri. Good night. I noticed that you are a regular on the program. We've got to do better in our country. We've got to do better in our country. Katumula work for what get, you know. I work for what get. I get a doctor, I didn't buy it at some university on the West Coast or in Buxton. I mean, we got university in Buxton, you know. Mr. Tajmul, I ain't get it from University of Haifa. I went to Howard University. University of Haifa. Tajmul, you live in glass house that throws stone. Live in glass house. No, we have always taught Guyana. You know, we've always taught Guyana, and we are proud to have made a contribution to the teaching profession. All ethnic groups make their contributions, and African Guyanese have made a contribution to education, and we are proud of that. Our brothers and sisters of other ethnic groups, they've made their contribution in areas of commerce and business, and we are thankful for that. We also want to get into that area. You know, Indian Guyanese have become teachers and they've gotten into the other professions that African Guyanese were force. And African Guyanese would like to get into the business sector. And the government is holding them back. Give public servants $250,000 cash grant so they can start some small business. I dare you. I dare the government to do that. I dare the government to do that. Give public servants $250,000. Give 7,000 of them, as you said, it's 7,000 sugar workers. Let's be equitable. Give 7,000 public servants $250,000 cash grant. We're daring the government to do that. We're daring the government to do that. And now they're ready to go to raid, the National Resource Fund. You all notice the year ain't end yet, and the government spend more money than it budgeted for. The government spend more money than it budgeted for. Where that money went to? You budget for a certain amount of money. The National Assembly give you that money, and you spend more than you budget for. you now want to remove the 22 people, the guardrails of democracy, so you can go now and raid the National Resource Fund. That's the plan. And the thing is, they're doing it bold-faced. They're not even hiding to do it. All right, we're going to open the lines. We're going to take a few calls because I have to get away a little bit early tonight. We're going to take a few calls and then we'll close off at 7:30. I have to run across to do another program somewhere else. So call us at 604-9722 and let's get some calls in. Let's get some calls in. You know, there's nothing that beats equitable distribution of resources. There's nothing that beats that. It increases the possibility of human brotherhood. To promote justice. You see, they would prefer that we go in the bar and drink. They would like that. Rather than to come here in the evening, as we do, or in the mornings, as Kidaki does, and to try to learn from our people and teach our people. They would prefer us to do other things, and then they will come to our community and say, you all don't have role models. So it bothers them that we have decided to give some of our time to help to keep our people informed and to keep our people mobilized.
You got a caller, Dr. Hines.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, good evening to you, Dr. Hines.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
My question to you is, I want to know what is the possibility in this government getting their hands on the natural resource fund? Is it possible, right? Because of the ramification, because of the contract, right? That Mr. Jordan signed, is it possible that they would get their hands on this resource fund? That's my question to you. Thank you very much.
And it's a straightforward question. You're right. Yes, it is difficult for them to get it because there are many layers they have to remove to get there, but it is possible. Because I think most of the changes that will have to be made can be made with a simple majority in Parliament. And they have that majority in Parliament. So, for example, the removal of this 22-member committee, they can remove that with a simple majority in Parliament. And I was saying the other night that one of the lessons that we have learned here is perhaps we should have made it more difficult by ensuring that a supermajority is needed to remove some of the lock and key on the money. But yes, it is possible for them to get their hands on it once they remain in office. And that is why the objective has to be for this government to remove from office. Let them hear the petition. Why is the petition being delayed? Let them hear the petition. There is evidence coming out of the recount that an election petition, let them hear it. Let the court rule that despite the lateness of filing certain things in the petition, that the petition should go forward. Let us have a petition. Let us hear the petition. And let us decide whether the elections were indeed free and fair and free from fear. Because the quicker we get the PPP out of office, they say we want to overthrow them. No, we don't want to overthrow you. We want you to overthrow yourself. We're not talking about overthrowing the government by some guerrilla something. Certainly not on this program. We are saying let the course of the law be allowed to run. Hear the petition now. Overturn the Chief Justice ruling that threw out one of the petitions. Overturn it and let's hear the petition. Call us at 592-604-9722. 5 years is going to be too much. 5 years of this is too much. They can be removed from government. We can find a charandas among them. Some of their own people who know that they're doing wrong should turn against them. They try to tell the world that we are preaching violence and we are this and we are that and all of anything. We are the victims of violence. We don't preach violence, we are the victims of violence. I come from a people who have had to endure violence from the Middle Passage and before, right now, right through to now. Right through to now.
We have a call, Dr. Hines.
Caller, you're on live on Politics 101.
Good evening, Dr. Hines, and good evening to the operator. Dr. Hines, why is it that the Indo-Guyanese have, in your opinion, set on domination? I mean, what I think is happening is that they want a generational, which have been happening, a generational wealth to actually occur. So the question I've always asked is, what is our redress in order, to close that wealth gap? Because as they have depressed the Afro-Guyanese, and while they have increased their wealth, there's no way we're going to catch up to their wealth. So in the event that we are in a position, how then do we now, try to make up for all that have been lost? And that's my question.
Yes, and that's a very important question. Everywhere in the world where groups have been behind economically, the only way that they've been able to catch up is for state intervention. That is, the state has to intervene to level the field. Because all groups have had affirmative action. The groups who are doing well, Indian Guyanese had affirmative action. Portuguese had affirmative action. The colonial government gave them affirmative action. That is why they are doing well in the economic sector. African Guyanese and Amerindians are the only ethnic groups in the country that have not been given affirmative action. And up to this day, Portuguese and Indian Guyanese businessmen and women are getting affirmative action. Look at the two budgets that the PPP gave, and there's affirmative action in there for the business sector, Indian and Portuguese mainly. The 250,000 cash grant is an affirmative action for our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sister workers. And African Guyanese have to be given their affirmative action. That is the only way groups have caught up. The state has to give them a break. And we must not be ashamed to ask for affirmative action. That $250,000 is affirmative action money. Where is the African affirmative action? So the state has to intervene. When the African Guyanese state, control state was there, they are very timid and they never consider affirmative action for African Guyanese. They never did it. It's going to be hard to get an Indian government to give Black people affirmative action. So we have to have a national government. The other thing that we can do in the short term is going to get us to a point, but it's not going to help us to catch up, is to start to think strategically, which is what I've been talking about in the last couple of weeks that get the PPP vexed. Start thinking about how you spend your money, how you invest your money. We have to build up our communal stocks so that the individual wealth can come from that communal stock. That is going to get us somewhere. It's not going to help us to catch up with Chinese and Portuguese and East Indians. You know, we have to get together in partnership with each other and start business. We don't have the capital to start a business on our own. We need to do it the whole time. We're poor. We have to get back to those basic things. You look around your village and you say, there is a service that our people are leaving this village to go over to another village to buy. How can we provide that service in this village? Because if there is a demand for something, then it has to be supplied. So we have to think smart about how we spend our money and how we invest our money. And we have to begin to think more about economics. It is not that we don't think about it, but we have to think more about it. Now that is going to get us some way, but it is not going to help us. And in the end, it is the government and the state that will have to intervene to give us the structural means by which to catch up. Please explain what is affirmative action, because I don't think some might know about it much. That's a legitimate question. The word sometimes get people think. Egerton is saying, and Gary, you're right. I'll have to spend some time on that. Egerton said reduce the amount of money we put in the banks. We had cooperatives, it didn't work. It's not that it didn't work, cooperatives work. It just fell down. Cooperatives work, I can tell you. I live in a village where I saw cooperatives work. We just didn't follow through as we should have. And I think somebody got it right here. They said to revamp the cooperative credit unions. Those things work, I can tell you. I can tell you, it's not that it didn't work. I live in a village where I see our people were able to build big houses by being part of cooperatives. I mean, Melanie, as a cooperative village, now it has fallen down because the cooperatives were allowed, we didn't spend as much time revamping and advancing what we had. You know? So those basic things we have to go back to, I think. We have time for a couple of calls. Ms. Dines, that is how weak the APN UAFC coalition is weak. That they can't get nothing right with all the PPP government is doing. And, you know, we have gone over that over and over, my brother, and I know we have to develop a consciousness. The PPP does not see anything wrong in ensuring that their people are empowered, that their communities are empowered. They don't see anything wrong. If your roads are good, you can open a business at the back of the village and the business will thrive. If the road is bad, nobody going down a bad road to go and buy something. So if you have good roads in your village, it helps your village economy. You see, we as a people, we have to think these things through. And some of these things we can do on our own. But at the end of the day, like I said, the government has to. And since the PPP government is not going to do it, when a government that gets in there that is favorable to our community, that government has to help us. I'm not saying do as the PPP doing, give everything to us and don't give nothing to the other ethnic groups. That's not what I'm preaching. Not at all. I'm saying give us enough to catch up. Give us enough to catch up. I'm not saying give like the PPP. I'm against what the PPP is doing. You're giving it to one ethnic group and don't give it to the others. And that's not what I'm preaching. I'm saying give enough to those who are behind to catch up. That's what any caring government will do. That's what any caring government will do. If we don't have any more calls, we're going to call it a night tonight. Tomorrow night, Christopher Ram and Rickford Burke are going to be talking to each other. You know, Christopher Ram took a hard line on Burke, and I'll give them a chance to speak with each other. Note I say speak with each other, and they've both agreed. So they're going to be on tomorrow night. And we're going to end the night with Aubrey Norton checking in. 2 days before Congress, the front runner is going to check in with us tomorrow night and give us the latest lowdown tomorrow night. So tomorrow night is going to be a big night. Christopher Ram and Burke will speak to each other on the issues, and then Aubrey Norton will close us off tomorrow night with a countdown to Congress, because Saturday is the big day. Saturday is the big day. So I want to thank you all again for tuning in tonight. I have to, like I said, split myself tonight, but I will be back tomorrow night. So stay well and tell Sherrod I said good night.
a taxpayers' money. This not PPP money. And me and you money a taxpayers' money.
Na 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 na. Whoa.
This a taxpayers' money. This not PPP money. And me and you money a taxpayers' money.
Na 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 na. Whoa. Oh yeah. Welcome to another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. It is 7 hours 17 on the 16th day of December in the year 2021. It's the day after official payday. Official payday, according to government circulars, was yesterday, the 15th of December. It's the day when a lot of people are going to feel their pains. Lots of pains. Pains, psychological violence, economic violence from this wicked and vindictive administration. We're going to talk about them. Morning, neighbor, morning. Welcome to another program. I trust you had a great day yesterday, productive day, successful day. I hope you remain safe and you were not impacted nor affected by COVID-19. I mean, yes, the impact is always there. But it is for us to, as they say, strengthen ourselves to deal with the challenges that face us. Right? The harder they come, the harder they fall. That's the attitude you have to have in these times. Hard times there. Hard guava season there in the year 2021 when Ghana is an oil producing state. Ghana is an oil producing state, but its citizens have been encouraged to. And you know they say, hint to Benny but make kwashi but take notice. And when blind man tell you, Pelty already got his stone. So when the fat guy and the bald guy, the power hungry guy said, Guyanese must prepare for hard times, Guyanese must understand that that oil wealth ain't gonna see them. They gotta tighten the belt. They gotta tighten the belt. It is here. It is December 16th. Lots of public servants have not been paid. I can tell you that. Lots of teachers are now wringing their fingers, wringing their hands, holding their head and bawling. We're going to talk about that. In the meantime, people are getting $100,000 grants. In a clandestine manner, like under the table, as if the public doesn't have a right to know how their money is being spent. Yes, that is happening. But you know what? This is Guyana. Let me get some more drums. Sometimes you just need to play the drums, wake up the ancestors and drive the wicked out. dog now bite me. Mr. Palmer, hold your dog. Old dog now bite me. He bite him master, but he won't bite me. Old dog now bite me. Y'all know morning, welcome. Morning. Let me talk a story. Let me talk some stories. I want to open up the lines early this morning because I want to hear your story. Let me talk this story. Sunday. Note, Sunday last. We said last week Sunday, but same thing. Sunday gone. The cabal ensured that severed Gaisuko workers receive the $250,000 in grant as promised. There was no contractual arrangement there, you know. These people had already gotten what was due to them. The coalition paid them. The court ordered the coalition to pay them in full and pay them with interest. That was done. So they had what was rightfully theirs. The state didn't owe them. But out of the abundance of their hearts filled with hatred and racism and vindictiveness and divisiveness and cronyism, the PPP cabal decided we are going to pay these people an additional $250,000, especially that most of them look like us. You know what I'm saying? Especially that most of them look like us. And so they ensure that even on a Sunday, the payments were made. And then it was emblazoned across the news media. PPP cabal delivers as promised. Severed Gaisuko workers received their $250,000 cash payout. You know what else they emblazoned? A black man collecting his check. Well, a black man collecting his check. Now, this is what I love to talk about race. Y'all believe me. I love to analyze the PPP and race. Right? Because it's cloak and dagger. So they emblazoned a big photograph. Black man collecting $250,000 check. As if that is the norm. Because those who know Gaisuko will know that the norm at Gaisuko is that black people are in the minority. And so while in reality, the majority of people who collected their $250,000 grant from this government, from the cabal, while the majority are Indo-Guyanese, the most suitable photograph to use was that of a black man. Why? What is the message? What is the subliminal message? Subliminal message. What is the message within the message? The message says, we are not discriminatory. This money is not being paid out to an entity or a sector which is dominated by other people. Those who don't know Guyana and don't pay attention to the details will believe, oh, since it is a black picture or the picture of a black man, it has to be the majority black people get this money. Right? But no, sir. Stay woke. That was the Minority Report. Parliament, it might have been the only black man in that group. Right? It might have been the only black man who got the $250,000 check on Sunday last. But he pasted him up. He was the poster boy for $250,000 payout. We are not discriminating. Black people getting the same amount as everybody else. We're not discriminating. If black people collect the money that we paid out last Sunday, we're not discriminating. Black people were severed from Gaisuko too. But when Sharon Das moved the no confidence motion in the parliament, he didn't say black people were severed too. You see, I can't face my Indian brothers and sisters because what they do. Y'all know what I'm saying? And when the PPP talks about Gaisuko, they didn't talk about Gaisuko as if black people worked at Gaisuko and black people were laid off also. But when they're paying out $250,000 grant, they suddenly realized black people were there too. And so the most suitable photograph was a black man. Y'all stay woke. Stay woke. It's another circus to say to the world, this is not a racist government. This is not a racist government. According to Roy Gokul, black people dominate employment in the country and black people can do as they like. That is what that photograph is about. Black people are employed. Black people have equal opportunity. Suck me teeth. Kiss me teeth, they say now. Stay woke. So, these folks have been paid. People who really and truly the government has no contractual obligation to. It was a mere promise. They got their $250,000 and the government said we delivered in time. But let's come to a sector where the majority folks are black people. Indeed, the majority folks are black people in the public service. Let's come there. The government has a contractual obligation with public servants. A part of that obligation, really and truly, is to sit with the workers' representatives, union leaders and shop stewards and so on, and negotiate fair wages and salaries increases for the public servants. You hear me? It's a part of the collective labor agreement that the government should engage in negotiations with the unions, the workers' representatives, to arrive at an acceptable level of wages and salaries increase. But no, we are not going to do that. In fact, let us label the workers' representatives as wearing political hats. Not forgetting that Kamal Chand also wore a political hat and was a worker representative. Not forgetting that whatever his name who replaced Kamal Chand, might be a Prasad, currently wears political hat, but is workers representative. Notwithstanding that, the public servants, workers representatives are wearing political hats. And we are not going to sit with them to negotiate on behalf of the workers. Despite the collective labor agreement says that we ought. Instead, what we will do is impose a 7% increase on them. Impose a 7% increase, and we will not only give them 7%, 7 cents on the dollar. We will not only give them 7 cents on the dollar, but we are going to tax it. We are going to take out a pound of flesh, even as we give a pint of blood. Right? So we're going to take it out. So we're going to give them a little, and we're going to take from that little and make it even less. But those who are receiving $250,000 grants, despite the absence of any contractual or agreement, are not made to pay tax on that. In fact, the taxpayers are made to foot the bill for that. The PYO members who collected in the vicinity of $200 to $300 million for assessing flood damage in regions 5 and 6, were not made to pay tax on that money. The rice farmers who drew down big were not made to pay tax on those monies because they are all in the camp of the PPP, or in the majority they are in the camp of the PPP. The PPP sees them as their own. But you lowly servants, you public servants, you're just that, servants. We will work you like a donkey, treat you like a junkie. 7 cents on the dollar, and we will tax it. We'll take back at least 2 cents. Against the collective labor agreement. But guess what we will also do? Not pay you on time. Not pay you on time. Another breach. People work, they expect to be paid. When the official pay date is upon you, you get paid. But people are reporting from the different ministries. They have not been paid. Paychecks, pay slips, as a matter of fact, have not even been prepared. I know for a fact over the Ministry of Agriculture, pay slips have not been prepared. No money was in the bank. The accounting officers declared it to some staff who didn't see any money on their accounts, and some staff who went to the accounts department like normal to collect their pay slip. May I have my pay slip, please? No, you can't. We haven't prepared any pay slips because no money was sent to the bank. We broke. That's the long and short of it. We broke. The government broke. Public servants can't get paid on time, despite the hundreds of billions that they're budgeted. What they take the money and do? Old people say link Blackboard. They link Blackboard. They've been taking taxpayers' money and politic. I raise hay for the boys and I raise debt for the girls. And I raise down there for every auntie, granny and child. And I raise down there for my lover. And so on. That is basically what they did with the people's money. I said they run going back to Parliament. Me and him got discussed the famous letter writer at a press conference yesterday. Harmon had a press conference yesterday to talk about his displeasure, disgust, how worried he was that a mere, 15 and 16, 31, a mere 2 weeks, let's say, before the end of the year, this covetous and criminal cabal has returned to Parliament to ask for a supplementary budget. A supplementary budget. The question is, why do we need this money? What is supplementary budget for? You know, one of the things I find out they do in Parliament is that they They give you all kind of reasons, but the real reason is wrapped up somewhere in the all kind of reasons. Y'all remember the regional, what they call them? Regional support services established through the Ghana Defense Force? That's what they did. They give all kind of reasons relating to the Ghana Defense Force, but the support unit was wrapped up somewhere in the middle of that reason, or those reasons. And the opposition took it at face value, and they ended up with shaft. We ended up with shaft. And so the supplementary budget that they're going for, interrogate the reasons, and you will find very well somewhere wrapped up in the middle there. It's money for public servants. We run short. Right? We run short. So public servants haven't been paid. Continued abuse. Pay them next to nothing. Treat them like real servants. And treat them anyhow. Pay them late. You know what else is happening? We only gonna pay public servants late. But let it cock up and wait to get their increases in salaries. Their back pain. Let it cock up and wait for it. It's coming with their salaries. But lo and behold, the teachers have found out. And I'm sure the other sectors will soon find out when they start paying them. If you're not vaccinated, you can't draw. If you're not vaccinated, you can't draw. Another abuse. As far as I know, you must have grounds to withholding people's salaries. And one of the grounds to withholding people's salaries could never be health condition. Withholding somebody's salary could never be their health condition. Unless they have been laid off medically unfit and salaries were prepared for them. And they have become ineligible for those salaries. But so long as you remain on the job, you're fit and you're working and everything, like the teachers have found out, they have completed, they have delivered a service to December, they're expecting to be paid. Their salaries have been withdrawn, have been withheld. Why? They must be fully vaccinated. Well, I see Mark Light say that if their salaries are not released by today, he's calling on teachers to go and stand in front of the departments of education in regions 5 and 6. What this government has done, what this cabal has done, is introduce the condition of service after the fact. I done work. You agreed some time ago that, hey, we wanted to teach the children, we want the children to go to school. Whether you take the vaccine or not, go teach them. They self don't have to take any vaccine. Let school go on. In whatever limited capacity. And then when I don't deliver my service, you're telling me, hey, you got to go take your vaccine before you get paid. If a private citizen had done that to any of you, I'm sure they would have got a bus head or a cut tail. But what are you prepared to do to this wicked and vindictive and disrespectful cabal that is adding to poor people's plight? The PPP, poor people's plight. What will you do about it? I'm sure a lot of people are sitting this morning and moping. You know what I'm moping about? Oh, I gonna pay for my curtains. They hold me salary, I ain't gonna get money for buying paint over the wall. Some are worried. How they eating from today onward. But in all of their worries, none of them is saying, let us get up and stand up for what is rightfully ours. None. And come to think about it. You know why this abuse can continue in the public service especially? I remember last week or the week before I said to you that more than 60% public servants are not exhibiting a willingness to strike. The government has that figure. The government knows of that statistic. The government knows that more than 60% of the people who sit in public offices, taking their abuse and their disrespect, are not willing to get up and stand up for their rights. And so every day they get a little bolder. They can do more things to them because we know 60% of them ain't gonna strike. They're gonna take the blows. They're gonna take it like a man. While their children punish and suffer, they're going to sit and take it on their backs. And we're going to brutalize them. Cause 60% of them plus, 60+% of them ain't got no interest in striking. So some of y'all might be getting some bleak Christmas. But y'all ain't fighting for the money where y'all work for already. What we gonna do? If I was striking on that career, and the only job me get. The only job you got can't even pay your bills. Can't pay your bills. Can't provide for your basic needs. Food, clothing, and shelter. Not enough, not sufficient. Many days you got beg and live to work or beg for passage. But the job very important to you. You got to go work with them. And they recognize that you had them out, they say. You're at the bottom of the social ladder. And they're ensuring they keep you there. So today is the 16th, one day after official payday. All or most public servants have not been paid. Teachers who are not fully vaccinated, in region 5 and 6 in particular, have had their salaries withheld. The government has gone back to the National Assembly seeking supplementary budget. Hundreds of billions of dollars, man. Taxpayers' money. But taxpayers themselves are not holding the government accountable. We're sitting back and watch the ride. While the people's representatives in Parliament have no say. They have no say. They could talk, they could run them out. But we don't have to listen. We could hear, but we don't have to listen. You know, there's one thing I always say with this concept of democracy. And a lot of the provisions in this country allow for consultation. The leader of the opposition must be consulted with on that. The leader of the opposition must be consulted with on this. The leader of the opposition must be consulted with on the other. But you all understand this? I can consult with you. In other words, I can listen to you, but I don't have to incorporate anything you say. And so when we are consulting, all you're spewing is hot air because we have no interest really in what you're saying. We are just giving you the courtesy according to the provisions. And so in Parliament, debate is allowed. You can debate the issues if Mansour Nadir will allow you to. Even if it is on private members' day, Mansour Nadir will determine whether or not you can debate the issues. You can talk about what you think is important. So in the National Assembly, the people's representatives can raise the issues. They will be given their 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. And that will be the end of the matter. So the people's representatives can talk till spit turns to blood in the National Assembly about the indecency of this budgetary allocation, this supplemental budget that the PP has gone to Parliament for. But at the end of the day, the PPP will walk out with what they went to Parliament for. We might have another press conference, we might have more letters, but the PPP would have gotten what they need and what is important, money to spend, to empower themselves and their cronies. In West Berbice and East Berbice, they continue to empower their cronies. People are getting $100,000 under the table because it's not announced. But people are getting $100,000. Right? There's something I want to show you. This is how governments that care about people treat people. This was budget presentation on the 14th. St. Kitts Nevis. Listen to the announcement. That is how governments treat people that they care about. Recognizing that there is a pandemic, recognizing the hardships, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis announced that not only the joint services, not only the protective services, but every citizen, every single Vincentian, Kittitian, no? Every single one of them will get, I'm missing something, every single one of them will get money for the holidays. Big money too. Not no small change. That is how you treat your citizens. With equality, fairness. But don't expect a thing, Guyana. Don't hold your breath. If you live in a region that is supportive, if you're not in a sector that they really want you to protect them, protect and serve, you ain't got nothing to get. Listen to this announcement. Listen up. I hope the fat guy is listening. I know the monitors and Kwame are listening.
All civil servants on the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis will, before Christmas 2021, receive a double salary payment. All civil servants on the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis will, before Christmas 2021, receive a double salary payment. all civil servants on the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis will, before Christmas 2021, receive a double salary payment.
Again.
All civil servants on the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis will, before Christmas 2021, receive a double salary payment.
Not some civil servants, all civil servants. Not frontline workers, all civil servants will receive a double salary in St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis, I take a bet, they ain't got quarter the resources this country got. We know for a fact they ain't pumping oil. They ain't pumping oil. But they can ease the burden on their citizens. They can be generous at Christmas time. But in Guyana, you got to live in region 6, 3, 2, some parts of 5. Before you can get anything. And like somebody rightly said, I wonder if the government rep prime minister, if the government of St. Kitts missed something, they forgot to say that you must be vaccinated. Huh? I don't know. Y'all could point it out to me. But while y'all ain't getting nothing in Guyana, we ain't get, well, I can't expect anything, honestly. Yes, poor people's plight, PPP. Right? I don't work with the public service. I'm not a civil servant, so I can't necessarily see. Some of y'all vexed that I am not including myself, but I can't really say we are going to be dishonest. Right? I will be dishonest. So it's now 7 hours 58. And the lines are now open for you to talk about the fact that is we money.
This are taxpayers' money. This not PPP money. And me and you money are taxpayers' money. This are taxpayers' money. This not PPP money.
The lines are now open.
Me and you money are taxpayers'
money. Let's talk
money.
the thing.
I saw them people then this day all over this country. I take taxpayers' money and I buy flipping vote. I don't care who listening and who screenshot it. It is my democratic right to speak my mind. I don't care who's spying. The money what them pay out of Fairfield and give them supporters a $100,000 each, then give them
622-5933 is the number to call you. Tune to the Buxtonian Morning Time. Like cat got your tongue. Hey, hola, 622-5933. Call you live.
Yeah. About all that you've said, I remember when I used to work. Official payday the 26th and I get salary, because I can't go into work the 27th. Because I used to say, if the government can't pay me 1 month, they only be paying me 2 months. And this wonderful teacher who led the strike against APNU, I think she should call out her teachers. But you see, calling out the teachers is not now, will be something, because remember, school closed. So they ain't really got no uses to the teachers. But come January, you got to let them know your position. And for the public servants, they should make up their minds. You see, people don't want feel bad, you know. And I have been in struggles in my life that I make up my mind. I didn't care. I was the lone person carrying a struggle. But I used to carry struggles. I could remember at the hospital West End when we got there from Georgetown. We can't get uniform. They didn't used to pay us on time. That time Noel Blackman was the Minister of Health. And he came to base. I wore my oldest uniform. I ripped down the hem in more. I made certain it had stain from mercuricum and aggloflavin or dye lotion. Neatly pressed. That time I used to make shoes. And I went to that meeting. I got late. And I sat to the front of the meeting. And I first got up to air my complaints. You see them nurse Kadak, if you saw the dress up, you believe that they're going to a Miss Universe, how they dress up. And because of me, salaries were being paid on time. You pay slipping order, plus we get uniform. Now this thing with this COVID thing, the government is using this thing as a whiplash for people. Remember the last over 200 books, Frank Anthony spoke about that. Where did those books go? You gotta ask yourself where it went. And why is this country still holding people at ransom for the poison? Businesses like Carrefour, they got a place on Regent Street. All the unicomers and them had up this big thing, and one of the enablers said that the Yorktown said, I know we gonna make out because we are being forced to take the poison. That's what's gonna happen to the people who gotta come and shop. She said right now, these people, ships with the consignment of goods for Diwali and Christmas, don't have the seas coming to Guyana, and we don't know. And them people make certain you could go into the stores, they ain't even put up the paper that you must be vaccinated. Right now, Carrefour's got open shop. Them only asking you, them ain't pressuring you for the vaccination card because they have gone to their books and realized the losses because of the book. And when the cabal enriches their people, their kind, with these big money, and they don't enrich the Africans with money, they are suffering because, you know, they like hoard money. They like a big bank account. They don't like spend. And the spending people are the Africans. We like to spend. And no money, we cannot spend. Last, I heard Dr. Hines with his introduction. He was talking about the petition and so on. Now, the petition is stressed. When President Granger and them realized that they had to go to a petition, they sat down and they waited for the time what they said. Since the thing though, you got all these battery and lawyers within your team. And if Mr. Trotman cannot speak, he could still write. You had Nigel. Well, Nigel isn't a part, but he gives advice. Abno should have started to send petition to the court from day one. You do a petition and you just keep sending off. You ain't concerned what is the time. Every day you're sending off this petition. At least every day they could have never said, and you ain't rewriting. You just carbon copying and you're sending. At time like now, the country would not have been in this. At the time that they take to go for this big, long, stupid delegation and thing with PNC thing, that thing should have squashed in less than quarter. And the opposition moved to the court, and you're holding the court at ransom like how they held the court at ransom to have that petition. Let the petition come out. Right now, ACNU supporters getting frustrated because all what the PPP doing is going for more money, more money, more money. And if you have made a budget, you have put aside in this budget so much wages and salaries, the opposition should never allow the government to be going back to the parliament only to keep asking for supplementary budget. After the 15th of December, all monetary business ceased until the month of March. That's why people said this party is a dead time. So I don't know why the opposition is allowing the installed regime to carry them down the road. They keep talking instead of bumper. Come to the point and do what you got to do. Let these
1997, 2001, 2006.
What is going on in Guyana? Guyana have laws that were laid down in the Constitution. And I think it is time that the opposition get those laws and flash it and let people know. They can't go to NCN. They got other places where they could come and hear the things and let everybody know. Let people, let the people who don't know what they should be doing. That is my contribution. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hope I forget nothing.
The lines remain up 6225933 is the number to call. And I just remembered that a lawyer for the DPP stood in the magistrate's court and said that no Guyanese citizen, none whatsoever, can expect a fair trial in political matters in this country. You have to pay attention to that. We're going to talk about it in detail on our next program. Oh, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow is Free Flow Fridays. Call you live. Good morning.
Morning, Kadaki. Morning, Guyana. If Rhonda think that opposition is going to do and find ways to do, they're not going to do anything. Like I said last week, nothing is going to be done because the people are scared, the opposition is weak. And have anyone asked, and I think I've asked this a couple of months back, the promised $250,000, which they have now gotten, are those workers required to take the vaccination? We don't even know that. But yet still that money is being given out. And when I saw the picture of that African Guyanese sugar worker in front page, I already said to myself, they're using that to show that, yes, you know, African Guyanese getting $250,000 too, when the majority of who's going to receive that is going to be Indians. And again, Kadaki, you keep pleading, but nothing is going to be done. It just seems like, you know, they're in a trance, and Africans are just getting the wrong end of the shaft and just continue to just lay down. And I don't know what the hell they're waiting on. Maybe it's white baby Jesus to come and help them. So until, you know, these people start getting some sense, we're going to be sentenced again, over and over. You know, that's my take.
Thank you, caller. I see some man named some kind of Rodriguez asking a question or making a statement. I did not say what the population of St. Kitts and Nevis is.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Kodari, I just watched your show many times. Let me tell you something. I heard you are blaming Guyana have two political parties, the PNC and the PP, right? The PP has run Guyana for 23 years. the PNC run Guyana for 33 years, 2 times as a coalition, and 23 years by themselves.
Stick a pin. Stick a pin.
Yes.
I feel a little dunce. Tell me about this 2 times as a coalition of the government run the country.
The first time was with Peter Digard. Then I get into government.
Okay, all right. Good. Continue.
Good. And this last time, two times as a coalition, 23 years by themselves. The PP run Guyana for 23 and then going on now to 24. You cannot blame the PPP alone for everything that happened in the Afro-Guyanese community. The PNC have to take some of the blame. What?
Stick a pin, caller.
What, Mr. Yes.
This is a stick a pin morning. I like the conversation. I love it. You say you listen to this program?
I said you cannot blame.
No. I heard that. I'm asking you. Did you say that you often listen to this program?
Yes.
Consistently or when you feel like?
No, when I get time.
Okay, well, let me say to you this. Let me say to you this.
Yes.
A student who absents his or herself from school cannot blame the teacher for not teaching.
Right.
Right? And so let me say, I'm saying that to say this to you. Those who listen to this program and listen consistently know that I don't only blame PNC, PPP for what happened to black people and what is happening in this country. Everybody takes their licks. You can continue.
Oh, yes. All right. I'm sorry. But let me tell you something. This last 5 years that the PNC get back to government as a coalition, right? They reach a hungry Guyanese people, Afro-Guyanese, ready to go forward. They did not take a stand to reach out to them. If me wrong, you tell me wrong. They did not take a stand to reach out to them and have a discussion with them. Our country, we get like 20% university graduate and another 30% secondary school, and we have a lot of dropouts. We have to accept that. But the lesser educated people in Guyana is what driving Guyana economy. You understand? That is where the PNC making a mistake and the PP capitalizing on it. Yeah, you understand? Now, you have to ask yourself a question. Would the Afro-Guyanese people listen to the PP or they listen more to the PNC? And the problem is, yes, they're going to listen more to the PNC. Is the PNC walk out with a plan how to deal with the lesser educated Afro-Guyanese? I went to meet the PNC. And when the PNC come to keep meeting, their members, they look for all the big polish word in the dictionary to keep a meeting at a low level. And when they finish, almost everybody don't understand what they're saying. And when they're done, they jump in a week and they go down their way. I went, they keep a meeting at Arbitrum Center themselves for minors. I reached Lincoln Lewis there, Trotman, Simona Bruce, and all the top people. You know, one word that brought me up today, like today, as a minor, working in my industry and small, raise money, invest in my industry, and make money, educate your children in my industry. When Trotman will use a word that we will not be the ministers then for reaching people. Who put for do their work have to do their work. Guyana have a problem. The public servants in Guyana and the public servants in Guyana are not performing as they should. When you have me as a business, me going through business. When you have Afro-Guyanese, the problem in Guyana not like with the PP. The problem in Guyana lie with the public servants and civil servants in Guyana. Because when you're black and you go to them, because you don't have money to give them, they treat you like dogs. They treat you like dogs. The first thing have to be educated and reformed in Guyana is the public servants and civil servants. PP is just a smart packet in a parcel. And if the public servants have respect for them Afro-Guyanese brothers and sisters, Guyana would be a beautiful country. And not Guyana alone, worldwide. Worldwide. You understand? When you go, like, you take a look at Georgia Mines. And if I go into Georgia Mines tomorrow, I will only find about 6 Indians walking there. And the destruction of Georgia Mines, you know what one wanna tell me? At time? He said, when I see a black man coming to my desk, I just know it's poverty. But when I see an Indian man coming to my desk, I know it's money. Me watching his face. And you know me turn and tell you, they said that's why they're switching people claims and people black in A. I mean walk out his office. You understand? They did to me. You understand? I locate 20 claims in the bush. Then switch my claims. Where me forget my claim and put it somewhere else. Because the guy will get the blacks have a link up with an Indian form and the big money pass, $1 million US pass. So then switch me clean. You understand? When the people put Robert Posada and mines, it was a square peg in wrong hole. I in concert some the stock. It's a square peg in wrong hole. You understand? You go to Robert Posada, the wardens are making it leak. I have to get roasted Ben for God. They'll try to Ben because he knows something about the mind. When he go, he straighten. He take a time for straightening the matter. When he straighten the matter, the minds, not the PP, the minds, judges are minds. With the blacks that walk in there, you never done in my industry, but you don't know what's going on. You understand? So when we blame a packet of people, we got to start straightening ourselves first in Guyana as the Afro-Guyan. Because let me tell you something. The people that only control a past faction of Guyana. The Afro-Guyanese always control Guyana. Because the public servants is Afro-Guyanese, the civil servants is Afro-Guyanese, and all the public servants is Afro-Guyanese. And we have to straighten that part and respect each other in Guyana. Only so the blacks can move forward in Guyana. Because when there's a black businessman, and you have to go and deal with these black people in this office, my brother, it's like you're climbing off a chambers. I don't know if you ever get dealings with them. Me don't know if you ever go about and get dealings in an office with them. You take a trip around and get dealings with them in the office, and then you're going to know the pain where it's got to feel for the business in Guyana with them.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You take a trip. Let me tell you, I like David is talking about David. We have to start pressure the public servants and civil servants in Guyana. Then we are the pressure force. And then we're going to get straight in Guyana. Now I jump to the top, pressure them. And let me tell you something today. If the PNC don't hit the ground, now when the protests don't do nothing in a country, you can develop your people without protesting. They have to visit them community and have to sit down and break themselves down and tell themselves they're not superior to nobody. And have discussion in the community. And then they're going to see better days.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah, thank you.
They say perception is reality. I have my own perceptions. It's not all of us who can call on Ben, for example, to go and sort our problems out and get them sorted. That's one. Number two, they say the fish rots from the head. And so, while the majority public servants are black people, their bad behavior has a whole lot to do with policies from the head and directions given to public servants and rules set out for public servants, etc. Caller, hold the line.
Hello?
Caller,
Okay,
hold the line.
Sure.
It's like The public servants didn't change in a massive way in terms of personnel between 2015 and 2020. For the greater part, the coalition kept those people in office and made them work. And they delivered and they respected citizens. And they delivered conscientiously. Check it. Right? The demands of bribes and so on, I'm not saying they were non-existent, but they certainly were less. People were more on their P's and their Q's because the head, the political head, issued certain instructions. As we like to say, threw down the gauntlet and say, if you can't produce, you're going to have to perish, you're going to go home. If we find you involved in this, we're going to do what we got to do with you. And so on. And so public servants were towing the line. And then there was a college established to train younger public servants. And so you had a higher quality coming from public servants. But the cabal was installed about 16 months now. Do you recognize the same public servants or the same public service behavior? It has gone back to prior to 2015. And therefore it says something is wrong. Something has to be wrong with the head. The fish rots from the head. Every time the PPP is in office, poor people's plight increase. Is more corruption, is more disrespect, is more abuse, and so people react just to that. I said to you before, a lot of the frustration you encounter or the bad behavior you encounter from public servants, in many instances, is a case of them venting their frustration at this cabal because they are being abused and they pass on their abuse. It's like you're living in some homes. Parents are being abused, they take it out of the children. Caller Live, good morning.
Mr. Kadaki, good morning everyone in Guyana. I had a planned topic to talk on, but I had to change my topic because of what that gentleman who just called said. Kadaki have got a point, but that gentleman has raised an issue that the PNC have been neglecting. It's symptomatic of the problem that Aubrey Norton and all of the executives have agreed. There is a definite disconnect. Aubrey Norton spoke about the disconnect of the constituency base in the different regions. There is also a disconnect and a lack of empathy. When you go to public sector workers, whether it's GPL, the courts on Main Street to get a depot, or you go to the registrar to get a birth certificate, or you go somewhere to pay your light bill, the amount of problems you go through with black people in the public sector, oh my God. When that caller just call and touch on that issue, emotions just run in me because I have suffered that. The amount of years I returned to Guyana, I cannot believe how cruel the public sector have been to the people. Public sectors don't relate because they know somebody. The people who work in public sector, they got a cousin, they got a friend, they know this police, they know that one, so they don't feel it. But the majority of people, oh my gosh, Kadaki. Imagine people that's come here from America for do business in Guyana and got to turn back and say, forget it, bye. It ain't gonna work. Them black man in Guyana, your mighty black man in Guyana in the public sector, don't turn you. And that was part of the complaint with the Grange administration. And like the caller rightfully says, the PPP is gonna capitalize on that. Let me talk the thing, right? We get the house clean. The PPP still racist. The PPP still need to get out of office. But like the caller says, we got to deal with our matters, so we're dealing with it. That public sector, when you're going to deal with some people in the public sector, you just say, oh my gosh, why I travel? You know how far I travel from Essequibo for come to Georgetown for deal with some public sector business. And is this, are you telling me? It's always small make you cry, buddy. You just ask yourself, should I come home to me country? Why me country? So I want Aubrey Norton and chairman, if she get them, can't relate to these sufferings. There's a disconnect in the public sector. The black public sector has no empathy for the people on the street. They don't. That is in the courts, that is in the police, that is in GRO, that is in the hospitals. Some of the nurses so cruel. Others talk to people. We know it's true.
Caller, stick a pin.
Yes.
I maintain my position.
No, you have to. I agree with you.
If abuse, hear me. If abuse is meted out to me, I will only have abuse to give other people. If my salaries and conditions of work are poor, I will only have frustration to pass on to other people. Because I see other people as part of the problem. If I ain't gonna serve nobody, right? I ain't gonna face nobody in my bad mood that is created by the condition starving. Their children not getting a proper education. They themselves being infected with coronavirus, for example, because they don't have proper protective gear. We ourselves have a disconnect. The masses have to demand from government that every public servant be treated fairly, with respect, and properly. And then we can demand from our public servants that they return the favor to us. It's not the other way around.
Kadaki, thank you for putting the other side to the sandwich. Because the sandwich got two sides, and I can't say everything in 10 minutes. So thank you for coming with the other piece, right? Because nothing happens in a vacuum. Nurses are fed up. Rhonda Lane could tell you she's fed up because of the lack of the responsibility of government that caused the public sector, the police, behave a particular way because they ain't being treated right either. And the courts and everybody. So it's not one-sided, and I'm glad you put the other side to it. So I don't want the nurses to believe that I am totally beating up on nurses or public sector workers. I am also saying, thank you, Kadaki, that the government, because the government has fallen down on its work during the Grange administration, and it's continuing for the last 23 years in a PPP administration. And this is why we are now having these conversations, that we could bring these complaints to the fore and house clean Guyana. And that is my purpose here, not to beat up on nurse or beat up on public sector. I understand that you are reacting to an insufficiency of proper action by the government. I want to move to another point because I know my time is limited. Rhonda Lane from over the West Coast raised a point on legal matters. Thank you, Rhonda, for raising that point. I think we need to have a show on the air that deals with the laws that parliamentarians are accountable for. PPP and the government are accountable for. What does Article 96 of ROPA say? What does Article 84 say? Put it on the screen and let's have the discussion with a lawyer. Nigel Hughes, Rickford Borg, or Selwyn Peters. So the regular man in the street could know what it is on a basic layman basis. You mean for tell me, is Dottie supposed to do and Dottie the government ain't doing? Is Dottie parliamentarian supposed to do and Dottie ain't doing? You see what happens with that when we now begin to know what the parliamentarians and the coalition supposed to be doing, but they ain't doing. Then we could hold them as a society responsible, Kadaki. But right now, we just listen to shows and we don't know what the law said. that the coalition must do. Right now, we don't know what the law says that Nandalal and Jagdeo must do or what they cannot do. So we ignorant, so we can't really hold them accountable. There is no accountability because we just don't know. The more we know at the market level what the Constitution said, because we learn it on KAMSTV show, we see it on the screen. Dr. Hines talk about it. Richard Board put it on the screen. Now we can wake up tomorrow morning and say, yes, we hold you accountable based upon article so and so. And you know what? I got a little money. I's a bus driver, but I gonna take Nandalal to court because I learned from the KAMSTV show that article so and so says that this is a conflict of interest. But right now we have an opposition who we want to hold the government accountable, but the opposition are doing it. So guess what? Dr. Hines said we are now the opposition, but to be opposition and to hold everybody accountable, the man in the street must know. Can you hear me? My time up?
Roger.
Yeah, the man in the street must know. So hopefully Kadaki, hopefully Dr. Hines, hopefully Ben Shop, hopefully Richard Bork, we could have a little session once or twice a week on what the law says on a basic primary school, secondary school level. So people could understand how we could hold our public officials accountable. Then now we all become opposition. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, caller. I hope this caller is listening on the live show because I want to say this. They said to whom much is given, much is expected. And this caller sounds just like the government. Oladoy, y'all don't like this side of me. This caller sounds just like the government. He's adding to the workload of people like Kiraki Amsterdam and David Hines and Rickford Burke and so on. He adding to my workload. I will have to moderate more programs. I will have to be the operator for more programs. Guess what? You have to consider upping your contributions if you do ever contribute financially. Time is money. And the same way, the quality of what you get from the public servants is dependent on the quality of what they get from the government. The quality of what you get from KAMSTV might have to end up there. We can't get you more programming, sir. We can't get more programming. We will have to actually increase funding. Calling live, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning to all listening and viewing. Perception is really reality. And so I appreciate that you actually talking about the other part of the sandwich, as the previous caller mentioned, the different side of the sandwich. Talking about the part of the sandwich in regards to the public servants and the rural administrations at the set time and so on. The thing is that we have to look at things in a way, because the situation that has been through the 28 years that the PP was in charge of the country, they've created an atmosphere, a corrupt atmosphere, and they've made it in such a way where people could actually only eat, could only make money through corruption. Even public servants who are going to work and have a legitimate job, and they're being paid to do a legitimate job, the only way for them to actually pay the bills, because the salaries were so low, right, is through corruption. Because most of the persons who would have approached these public servants, like in the coal industry, the mine industry, most of the people who would have support these people for minor blocks and claims and all these things. They were PUP supporters with a lot of money, and these people were really, really corrupt. So they went into the public service sphere, and kind of spread a poison in where they've been offering these people monies and loads of monies, and they've made it in such a way these people looking at the money that they offering them as bribes compared to what they're working for. So it's like a no-brainer. So they will go for these monies, and that situation was created through the PAP because it's the nature of these people, and as a matter of fact, by extension, I would apologize. It's the nature of a certain ethnic people, right, around the world, right? Corruption. So you need. So it's good that you've talked about the other part of it, where these people, these public servants, mostly they were underpaid. And as the only way of paying the actual bills is by through these corrupt means, going to the highest bidder. I mean that is immoral. It's illegal. It's not the right thing to do. But like I said, these people have families to feed. They have kids to feed. Have families to send the school. Kids to send to school. They have to feed them, all these kind of things. So that option does look a lot more attractive than the actual salaries that they're working for, which is minimum. So with that, and I think the coalition, when they were in power for the 5 years, that was the first thing that they tried to do. They tried to raise the public servant salaries, right, like every year. So they could eliminate this corrupt culture that is in the public servant in all these different ministries. So that's one way of doing it. But the thing is that these people are back in power again, and it's gone back to the same thing, the same corrupt nature of thing. People walk away with the big fat money in the pockets, and the public servant, the services, the real services will go towards them because they have the money to pay for these services. So people, I understand that there are people who call it in and who say that these public servants are black folks, and they look past other black folks to deal with other Indian people who's offering them bribes. That is the case. That is the case in the police force. Is the case in all fractions of the government of Guyana. But the only way we could hit it, we could knock that out, is by increasing these public servants' pay, increasing the benefits, and teaching, educating them, making them more professional in whatever work they're doing, right? So those are the ways we have to do, but we can't just point the fingers and say, a black person is doing this to another black person, because the thing is that black person, you don't want to go hungry, right? Who's in the position to offer these services? They don't want to go hungry, so they will go to the highest bidder. I mean, most of them actually are ridiculous indeed, right? And they're the problem. But the thing is, the root of the problem is the way they are being treated, like you mentioned, by the employees, which is the government of Guyana.
Thank you, Carla.
As the government of Guyana decide to change their ways towards these people, they will offer better services. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
One of the things we need to consider, for example, is this. You are putting me as a public servant. I don't pay bribes. I tell people that plain and straight. I don't pay bribes. Right? But imagine you have put a public servant to take charge of a process which will hand assets to somebody valued billions of dollars. And they are being paid in that process at a rate that can't even feed them. What do you expect to happen? Right? What do you expect to happen? That's one side of the thing to look at. The other thing is, if you I hear a lot of people come from overseas and so on, and they talk about their public service jobs, and they treasure them. They don't want to lose it, because with that loss comes the loss of a lot of benefits and so on. And so if you make the conditions of service of public servants in this country so lucrative, so comfortable, Many of them, if not all of them, will toe the line and behave and deliver the kind of service that is expected of them because they know if they fail in that regard, they're likely to lose the job and the losses that will come with it. But if the job really don't matter because it can't pay my bills anyhow, then I treat it anyhow now. It's as simple as that. Or you expect teachers, for example, to stay and give extra work to students who are lagging behind when they got to study where they're going and get this dinner money from for the family. That's just an example. Case in point. There's a call on the line. Call it live.
Good morning. I am not going to discuss what you are discussing there today. I just want to let you know that I saw a document where the BV Triumph NDC has sold about 140 acres of BV backlands without consulting the villagers.
Mr. My friend,
an agreement to sale.
Sorry for calling your name.
Yes, sir.
But let me tell you this.
Pardon?
Right now, my immediate response to you is that BV Triumph NDC was allowed to do that because the BV people wanted to happen. We can have a further discussion on that. Not today. Huh?
Yeah. I just want you to know.
Good. So the public is alerted. But the Baronians wanted it to happen. That is why it could have happened. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know that sale that this call is talking about most likely is a sale to not Gafour's. Was it Gafour's or John Finance? Because I'm sure you raised that issue on this program before. But if people are going to sit back and expect everybody else to fight their battles except them, then these things happen. 140 acres of land sold to a big business in Georgetown or outside of BV is basically black people's land transferred to the other ethnic group. It's as simple as that. And the other ethnic group is prepared to sit, the black people are prepared to sit down and watch their lands transferred to the other ethnic group by a group of God knows what I want to call them at the NDC. The lines are open. Call it live. Good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. I didn't intend to call this morning because I was just listening to what people were spouting. And from what I've heard, some people seem to have it misconstrued. What they fail to recognize is that the PPP were in there for 23 straight years, all of which were nefarious activities from Jump Street to when they were taken out 2015. The psyche of the public servants then were primarily hinged on skullduggery because that is what the administration pushed. Get wealth at all means and by any means possible. So this notion, this philosophical belief that was engendered is one of corruption. And not that the people themselves are corrupted, but as you rightfully said, the fish rots from the top. If that's what the administration pushed, what do they expect to happen down at the bottom where the people are hardly paid any livable wage? Then, to compound that further, when the coalition got into government, instead of weeding out those PPP elements that were there, they left them in the interest of Guyanization, if there is such a word. Leave all their Guyanese. And those same people were the vehicles used by the PPP to disrupt and frustrate people who were going to deal with the public service. They gave them funding under the table, coming direct from Freedom House and elsewhere, the business people, to make the government look bad. And those were the people who cast such a bad light on the public servants that people stopped to say, oh my God, why are the public servants behaving like that? It was orchestrated in that way by the opposition, then the PPP, to make the government look bad. So all these people grew up knowing, because it became a cultural thing, attitudinal change, is to look for everything under the table. You come to something which can be done in 50 minutes, they give you the royal run around and give you the symbol. This would require X amount of dollars. It's not that the people, that's how it was. It was never like that before. is the corruption of the 23 years has thwarted the decency in those people who once were nice, law-abiding citizens. And as you said earlier, and as many of you would agree, you cannot have public servants working and dealing with millions of dollars and you're paying them dollars and cents. It doesn't work that way. There must be compatibility. And compatibility in terms of remuneration leads to good and decent workers. These people have mouths to feed. They have family to take care of. They have to present themselves in a way that is amicable to the public when they go in there. And this nefarious installed regime that was there for 23 years, and now it continued 16 months ago, all the pushing and pushing is lawlessness. And regardless of what people say, lawlessness will prevail because that is the nature of the beast that head the country right now. Thank you. Kodaki, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, caller. Time to start working these voice notes. One coming up.
Kodaki, good morning. You know, as soon as some people open their mouth, the first thing that they talk about is these public servants taking bribe. How these public servants getting the bribe? Now, if a public servant approach you and ask you for a bribe, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to tell them, listen to me, you got a job to do. Do your job. You know? But no, they pay them, enable them, and when they're done, they come out here and want using the public servants instead of taking bribe. Many times when I go home to Guyana and I go to do business, sometimes they complain, give me a raise, man, and I can get it. No. But then what I would do is that I go and I get a nice service. I might say to the person, well, okay, have a good day. And I ain't hiding nothing under the table. I would ask them, is it okay for me to buy you a lunch or something? And that is it. I don't see, if you gifting somebody something, it is a different, or if you're giving somebody a tip, it is a different from bribing them for a service. So these enablers need to stop blaming public servants and stop and holding public servants accountable, pressuring them so that they will do the job and do it correct. And when they do it correct, it's okay to give them a tip. A tip and a bribe is that's why Guyana is how it is. Every damn thing for them is give you a raise. Nobody don't wait now. Everybody want a raise. No, stop enabling them.
Facts. As a matter of fact, the difference between a tip and a bribe is the possession at which it comes. It's an inducement to work or an appreciation for work. Right? So if I come to you to give me a service and I say, I'm going to give you a raise, that's a bribe. If I came and I got my service and then I said, thank you for your service, hold on to this, that's a tip. You know, a lot of young ladies, for example, go and work in bars as bartenders and waitresses and so on and so forth. Young men work as tenders too. In many instances, the remuneration is small, but they take those jobs because the tips are usually big. And at the end of the night, what they might make in a week, in many instances, they make in a night from tips, dependent on where they're working. Right? So keep that in mind. But at the end of the day, you can't pay people chicken feed. Stanley Ming said it nicely, if you pay peanuts, you can get monkey business. Call it live, good morning.
A very good morning. I want to say to all Guyanese, I'm very concerned with the plight of the African man, and I want to agree with Mr. Series that, as clearly stated, that black people are marginalized in a major way. But the problem is the historic economic railroad of the African community, in that the sense that Mr. Granger did not truly understand what his job should have been, is to retool and to redesign the economy of Guyana, to truly bring the black community along a strong, stringent business path. And that should have been seen in the establishment of a African business college. That I know we have many competent professors in Guyana and around the world to establish such a college, to bring our people equally up to task in being permanent, strong, growing business people. So that was one thing that you lacked. The other thing is that we should have established a commission in the Guyana economy to overlook customs and excise and every aspect of contracts in Guyana, because I know fully that I have been a part of the business community while I was living in Guyana for the past 11 years, that I'm now here living in New York, 29 plus 11 here. But I've spoken to many black businesses, and they said that the duties that they pay at customs are woefully in discrimination against their business and their ability to grow. And it puts the Indians at an advantage because their taxes and their duties are far lesser. So we need a commission established to overlook customs and to ensure that everyone that is establishing business in Guyana have a fair and equal stake to the duties and excise that they pay there. So there are many layers of our economy that the opposition need to take interest in, ensure that all the people of Guyana are fairly treated. If not, the haves and the have not will continue to grow in greater disparity, and you will have a conflict that will arise that will see Guyana being destroyed quicker than we even imagine. So I call on all parties to deal with equity, that all the races are given an equal space in the business sphere of our country. That's my contribution.
Thank you, caller. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam.
This one low.
You know, a lot of people don't know what nurses go through, especially at the Linden Hospital complex. We don't have any advocate there, you know. They run that hospital autocratically. Whatever they say goes. More so, food is small is there, the pressure is more. And they are afraid. So whatever he tells them, they go by it. Nurses are under pressure. That's why most of the nurses are migrating. And the little that is left there, they are more pressured because the nurses are frustrated. Nurses doesn't have a body that they could go to and offload. We are burnt out. We don't have no one to call on. Whatever they do, that's it. It's either we take it or we leave it. Right now, he's trying to downsize the amount of beds in the hospital and keep only the nurses that they think is fit to run the hospital and send the others to the other region in Guyana. And if they don't go, they can consider themselves out of a job. They don't know the things that nurses go through. Sometimes you go to work and you don't even have stuff to work. You have to be all over the place. Sometimes you're stationed on one ward, and by the time you get there, you have to go and take over another ward. Nurses are burnt out. People need to look into nurses' situation. Nurses are human. We have a family of our own. We have our own problems. They need to respect nurses and treat us the way we're supposed to be treated. Nurses carrying home $101, $15,000 and $18,000 money to face with all these things that nurses has got to be faced with at the end of the day or the night or the end of the month. Nurses aren't robots. We have the same blood running in our vein like other people on the road that come to seek treatment. They need to respect us and do what is right.
That was certainly the voice of a nurse. In Linden, I understand that Small or whatever the disrespectful chap's name is working on downsizing the Linden Hospital complex. They only want 50 beds there. So you had best ensure less than 50 people going to need hospitalization in Linden. Only 50 beds they want there, and they're shipping the other nurses out of the region. That's the plan. Good. 6225933 is the number to call. Oh, we only have about 6 minutes remaining. And so let me continue to play these voice notes. Voice note.
Hi, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning. The Guyanese people at this time is facing a great challenge in terms of psychological warfare with the politicians and the so-called leaders in Guyana.
Call all the line.
Now, Jack Dio and other ministers are telling the people to praise themselves for nothing else but hardship. Now, how are you telling the people to brace themselves for hardship? And the oil is coming out at the same quantity that it started. The gold industry is coming out the same way. The gold is being extracted the same way. The diamond, the timber, everything in Guyana, in terms of the major industry that has been sustaining Guyana for the longest while, is doing the same or making the same contribution to the economy. And at this time, the oil is giving the economy so much money that they never haven't seen before. So how at this time you're telling people to brace themselves for hardship? What hardship should people brace themselves for in the best time of the country? Tell me, is this a conspiracy? Why every time a country is given or get oil, it always have to it either go forward or go backward? Why Guyana have to go backward into poverty? Why is Jagdeo them trying to get the people and to sustain poverty? I'm not saying they're trying to get us out of poverty. They're trying to sustain poverty in Guyana. They're telling the people to brace themselves, while the poor people will have to brace themselves for more hardship. Will they have to brace themselves from their $1 million a month pay? Will the ministers have to brace themselves? Will the ministers' salary will be cut? Will the president's salary be cut? No, you're just telling the poor people to brace themselves. We want to be like Dubai. Oil didn't make Dubai rich. It's the leader that took the resources and made Dubai the way it is. So why are we punishing our people? Why can't we find the right leaders in our country to do the right thing?
Thank you for that voice note. Calling you live, good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. Kadaki is the same thing. Instead of you go forward, you go backwards. And these are situations, it's never ending. It's not ending at all. That's the reason why the people have to behave the way they're behaving. They're stealing, they're taking. It is ridiculous. You have to help the people. And as a caller just said, you have to find good people to go in there and want to fight for your country to make it better. You cannot. You want to give people big jobs to do, and then you're not paying them no money properly. Why? How are they going to sustain themselves? How are they going to eat? It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. When you hear their paycheck, what they are getting, oh my God, it's how you want to know how can they survive. Kadaki, I see it. I was there. It is deplorable. You want to know how could they eat? My God, it's ridiculous. People who don't have heart. I get mad when they're upset and when they want to beg you for something. Allow me to give it to you because I know your situation. I feel your pain. I know what you're going through. But it is sad for that. It's very sad. Something gotta give. Something gotta give us. Because those people gonna start. People gonna start running crazy in that country. Because it's not fair. It is not fair to them. All right, Kadaki, have a good day.
Thank you, caller. People are going to start running crazy. A lot of people are already crazy. Y'all don't pay attention to mental health. Right? Yesterday, a man hung himself in the BV lockups. I think he was arrested for simple larceny. And he hung himself in the lockups. Frustration, mental health. Suicide is a mental health problem. Right? No more calls. Let me see if there's another voice note. I hope I didn't miss any. Yes, I'm seeing two more here. Let me play them. And then I'll tell you something on closing.
Brother, corruption don't start like that. Right? Yeah, listen how this whole thing started. If I working in an office and somebody comes to me and I realize the paperwork not right and I say, well, you gotta go back and get X, Y, Z or whatever. Next thing I get a call from somebody. Yo, see the application, whatever it is thing? push it through. Remember, I come and I start doing my job. The public servants just in town corrupt like that. You understand? I come and I do my job. Every time I do my job, I get in a phone call. No, don't do this. This person coming to you, deal with them and send them through. Sometimes the person even meet the requirements of certain things that they have, but let go through. The PPP motto, right? The PPP motto is you want to be poor, live honest. This is their motto.
Real talk, as the boys say, you know, real talk. A lot of people find themselves in corrupt deals because things are not right and they insist that things should go their way. And that is why I say I generally don't pay a bribe. I always try to ensure my vehicle documents are up to date, for example. Whatever I'm dealing with, I try to ensure that it's okay. So no law enforcement officer or no public servant can come and tell me, well, you got left something because I got fix something. Right? If it got to fix, well, let me go back and fix it. Because my thing is, especially when dealing with police, I never offer police a bribe. Because it's a breach of the law. Nobody will charge me for perversion of justice. Y'all got to know these things. Right? And likewise, people should make it a fearful thing for a police or any public servant, as a matter of fact, to demand money from you, whether menacingly or not. But you have to hold your side of the bargain. You got to ensure you're walking the straight and narrow line too. Right? Voice note.
Kidaki, good morning. The fish in these things from the head. It is the responsibility of management to ensure some things. This will be a plug for Public Grocery Store in Florida, which is a private company. The cashiers help to take your grocery to your car. As a matter of fact, they offer to help. On their uniform, there is a tag that says no tipping. Last week, I sent my car ahead of me to my friend who was sitting in my car. The person did not realize that the cashier could not accept tip and was offering a tip. The cashier made it clear that they are not allowed to accept tips. That's all.
Thank you. And let me say this in closing. There are two things I want to say. I will say this one and then I'll say the final one. A lot of people talk about the PNC was in power for 28 plus whatever, 28 and 533 years, I think the caller said. And the PPP in power for 23 plus 1, now 24 years, let's see. When we have these discussions about the PNC in power for 28 years, let me deal with that. And compare it to the PPP in power for 23 or 24 years. I believe we are disingenuous or we lack understanding. We're not taking context in our discussions. I will always maintain that the PNC in government for 28 years is under totally different conditions to the PPP in government for 23 years. The PNC operated in what we call a Cold War. You had to take a side. And for as much as Guyana perhaps didn't take a side or took the wrong side, the country suffered economically and otherwise. If anybody wants to be honest and sit and do an open and frank examination of the policies of Forbes Barnum in terms of national development, they will agree that many of those policies were great. Did the country have the resources to fund them? That's the difference. Did they have the international backing? That's the difference. Under the PPP came into power when the Cold War was basically finished, when debt write-offs were benefiting the country. The country had access to resources. And so to compare 28 years to the 23 years is really chalk and cheese. I'm being honest, at least that's my interpretation of things. I'm not saying Forbes Barnum government and the PNC were all saints and they did everything correctly. They made mistakes, like the coalition made mistakes. The PPP had a glorious opportunity to put this country and its citizens in a better place. But instead, they engaged in cronyism and racism. And they're still engaging in cronyism and racism. And that is what we have to call it for. Call it as we see it. Yes, many would have expected a coalition, recognizing what the PPP did for 23 years, to take affirmative action, to pull the halves upward, even when pull the have-nots upward, even when stagnating the halves because they were already in a good place. Listen, the PPP and the cronies are in such a good place in this country that they could stop earning from now, if you ask me, and they will never be poor again. Because the vast amount of the country's wealth and resources that they control. In every sector. While they have not, majority black people have access to little or nothing. And so people would have expected a coalition to take affirmative action. And so when a lot of people say the coalition ain't do nothing for black people, in short, what they're saying, they did not take affirmative action to change the situation black people are in at a faster rate. But if you examine the approach of the coalition government, you could very well say that they were fairer to Guyanese than perhaps definitely compared to the PPP government. The coalition has been much fairer. They tried to spread the resources across. Disproportionately, quite frankly, because the Amerindians got more than any other sector. And so you can't accuse the coalition government of being racist. Racist if you they were biased to the Amerindians, but not racist because of a black bias. They certainly didn't show that. And so these are things you have to examine. Take into context 28 years of PNC in government as against 23 or 24 years of PPP in government. That's what I want you to consider. And let us see if we're making a fair assessment of these two parties in government. Quite frankly, for me, I think I've seen the PNC has been fairer. Quite frankly, again, if you look at the 80s and the PNC government, I think more Indo-Guyanese, Portuguese, Chinese benefited from the PNC government disproportionately. A lot of those who were calling themselves big business people and so on, and so on in this era were facilitated by the PNC government. That's a wrap for the program. And let me tell you that the final thing I wanted to tell you is that former Minister of Finance, Mr. Jordan, said he is on the mend. Right? He's on the mend. He's taking his rest and he's recuperating, and eventually he's going to make his way back to BUXTONIAN morning time. He likes what is happening, and just as you have him in your prayers, he has everyone in his prayers. Thank you for tuning in. Join you tomorrow.